this computer.
There we go.
All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
All right. So let's get started here. Okay, my first question is what got you interested in the music technology field to begin with?
So, my whole life I've just kind of been like a creative person, and I've always grown up just like singing and dancing and loving music and stuff. And when I was in college and like college didn't really necessarily work out for me, I found this school called the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. Um, and they do everything audio from like music production to post production to like live sound. And it was a shorter program of like 11 months and an internship at the end. And it just sounded like it fit so perfectly for me because I'm just all over the board. Like I like all of the arts, painting and like fashion, all of that stuff. And so I was like, well, why not just try music out? And I went, and it was like the best experience ever. Such a cool school. They've got like 6 different studios, and so I was able to learn like all of these different consoles and like signal flow and all of that stuff. And so I just really fell in love with it, and really, really happy I went with it.
All right. My next question is how did you decide on what specific like niche you wanted to work in as to like did how did you decide which like specific part you wanted to do, like live sound versus production versus post production?
Yeah, so originally I wanted to go into post production because in college I was studying film, and I was like, oh, I really, really want to be part of the film industry, and post production is a part of that industry. But that has actually changed over the past few months. I when I went to Crass and I started getting in on sessions, and I started having friends who were like incredibly talented musicians, and we were just playing together, and it was like we were up to like 3 in the morning rocking out. And then I started seeing some of my friends go into music management and just that whole world. I was starting to think, I was like, oh, like this music production side is like pretty cool. I think I want to be involved with it. And so naturally, I just kind of started gravitating towards that, and just started following like that passion. And that's kind of how I just picked that one spot. And then, of course, I love live sound, but that's just not happening right now.
Right.
So,
Understandable. Oh man. That's kind of the part that I'm looking at right now is live. That's mostly because that's what I have the most experience with was like working in the theater at high school.
right.
But obviously can't do much of that right now. I mean, with
Yeah.
most of my classes not even being in person.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, that's cool to know you want to go into live sound because I have a bunch of friends that also like want to be involved with it, and I already have some connections with it. It's such a cool thing. Oh, I worked with
Yeah.
you both earlier in the year. Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah. All right. How did you find your first job?
Through my school. I found my first job through my school. It was really just I started like just showing up after class and going into the studios and working hard, and some of the instructors recognized that. And so, towards the end of my time at class, one of the instructors approached me with a gig. Actually, it was one of my friends who was mixing for a theater show. It was like the Broadway production of 13. It's just like a kids' theater, and he got another gig mixing for the Oakland A's. It was spring training time in Arizona, so
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Hey, like I really want to dedicate my time to that, and so I can't mix this show. Do you want to do it?" And he got the gig through one of the instructors, and so the instructor was like, "Oh yeah, like Julia could totally do that." And so I did, and it worked out really, really well. I really enjoyed it. It was 2 weekends. I think it was like 1 week of tech week, went in and just ran through everything while the kids were like performing, and I was mixing a live band with all of their dialogue through a big PA system.
Yeah.
Um, and it worked out really well. It was a really good experience for me. I did caused one feedback loop. I will admit that. It was horrible, but I figured it out quick enough and just like shut everything off, muted it.
Yeah.
But I was like, that would happen a lot, but it was fine.
Oh, that reminds me of one day we were all at lunch and we all had like the same Zoom class, and so we all got on Zoom on our phones in the cafeteria and caused a big feedback loop.
Oh no!
It was really funny
Oh my god!
because the only people that were in the class were us in the cafeteria and the professor.
Oh, for
So
real.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that was just really funny. So what was it like moving from Ohio out to the West Coast for school and then for work?
um, it was scary, but it was like a good scary. It was kind of like I had tried things in Ohio and nothing was really working or feeling right to me. And it was like as soon as I just saw this school online and applied and got in, I don't even remember anything in between that. Like it was like I feel like I applied, got in, and then all of a sudden I was in Arizona and I went to school. And then it was like 9 months of just like classes and gigs and like working and all of this stuff. Um, and I loved it all. It was a lot of work, but it was fantastic. And so there was like some hard points, and it's like hard to transition because I'm so far away from home, right? But every time that I moved out, and then I'll like come back home for a weekend, see family, and then I'll move back out. It gets easier every time because it starts to feel more normal. Um, and me and my parents have like set up a good way to like make sure we're still calling each other and being in contact. And the best thing that has happened is I met a lot of great people at school, which made moving to Los Angeles way easier because I wasn't doing it alone. When I was in Arizona, I was alone, and that was a little hard sometimes. Um, but I made it work, and it was totally cool, and I was really close to school, so like if I ever got, I wasn't too far away from people that I knew. But definitely being in Los Angeles and like living with people that I went to school with and know really well has made things just like exponentially better.
All right. Oh, you already kind of went over this, but how did you begin to like break into the job market after you'd finished schooling, and how did you get from your first job to where you are now?
So where I'm at now and from where I started, it's just a lot of reaching out to people. Like, really, the industry is just like a bunch of friends creating like all of this cool music, and like you'll get a job by knowing somebody, or like someone will know of you and know of your skills, and like, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, yeah, I want to do that. One of the biggest things that class taught me was just like when you're starting out, say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, even if you don't know how to do it, just fake it till you make it. Like, just pretend like you know what you're doing. And if you run into any issues, like you'll figure it out along the way. That's like what engineering is. Like you just have to like figure it out on your own and just kind of reverse engineer it, and you know that whole thing. Um, but really, like every gig that I've gotten has come from previous work or friends that I've met in the industry, and basically people will just approach me and be like, hey, this is going on, do you want to come, do you want to do this? And I'm just like, yes, absolutely. And not only do I say yes, but I show up on time, I do the work, and I have fun when I'm there, and like make more friends at each gig, um, which leads to more gigs. Everyone always says it's like gigs lead to gigs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the industry's cool in that it's literally just like you just need to make friends with people and like enjoy it, and people want to have you around, and that'll get you more gigs. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah. Um, One of the things that I've been hearing is that it's hard to find like a stable job in the field because you're going from gig to gig to gig. What do you have to say about that?
I would agree with that. It is a little bit of a grind because it's almost a very casual industry, and that it's not a 9 to 5. It's like, hey, we got a session tonight. Want to come in? Want to help out? Yes. Hey, we've got this festival coming up. You want to come help out? Yes. Um, so what people have told me is when you're first starting out, expect to not have normal hours. But then again, it depends. Like if you're going to post production, that's more of a 9 to 5. Because you'll go in and you'll just like work at the studio all day, and then you'll just leave at 5 and then come back in. But if you're doing music, a lot of the artists want to like work on their stuff at nighttime. So that's why there's like a nighttime sessions. Um, Live sound is more of like weekends because that's when like festivals are and like
Mhm.
concerts are. Um, and a lot of the older people I've talked to, they say just keep doing all these gigs, keep saying yes, and after about like 3 years, people will start to like see you enough and notice you. It's like big industry, but like small world, small
Mhm.
circle. Everybody knows everybody. So the more you do, the more you come around, people will know who you are, know what kind of work you can do, and just keep giving you gigs. Um, and then I guess once you have enough experience, it's kind of up to you to decide how you want your lifestyle to be. Because right now I'm just like doing a bunch of other different gigs, but I have experience in sound engineering that I could go get a post production job and work a 9 to 5 if I wanted more of like a work week and then weekends and like
Mhm.
have a family, have a home. Or if I decided I wanted to do live sound and go on tours, I could tour for 6 months of the year, not have to pay for housing or food for 6 months, and then come home and have like 6 months off.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it is a weird industry in that it's not always stable. But I think there's like pros and cons to everything. And like the con would be it's like, oh, you never really know where your next work is coming from. But the pro is that it's like when you do have work, it's just so cool and so fun that it's like worth it.
Yeah. So let's go a little further with that. What specifically do you find satisfying about working in this field?
Um, just the people. Honestly, the people in this industry are so great. I mean, you get your bad apples, but you'll get that like
Mhm.
anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone that I work with, everyone just is like on this understanding of we just are passionate and we love what we do, and everyone is like very positive energy because it's like you don't want to be that person in a session that's like bringing down the mood.
Yeah.
um, and everyone just kind of like has similar personalities and like really like working together and really like creating art together. So that's probably my favorite things is that the work doesn't feel like work because everyone is just enjoying themselves and really excited about what they're creating.
Yeah.
Just
That's really cool. That's something I've been finding personally at Capital is I've found a lot of people that kind of think the same way I do and are really passionate about what they do. I
yeah,
really like it so far.
that's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to hear about how it's been going for you too.
Yeah.
It was
It's
my interview, but
different than what I was expecting, that's for sure.
oh
with
yeah,
with all of the, the COVID and everything.
right, yeah, yeah.
Kind of hard to interact, you know?
Oh man, weird year.
Yeah, no kidding. Not how I expected my senior year to go.
Oh my gosh, you're already a senior.
No, no, no. Senior year of high school.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Actually, yes, you are a senior in high school, senior Maria's age. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
right. Me and Marie are like a month apart.
Yeah.
So how does your artistic and musical background influence your work?
Um, that's a good question. Well, it helps because right now I'm kind of working with a producer guy, and in some ways, me being an artist myself is hard. Not hard, but
Yeah.
it makes me confused because I could see myself fitting into so many different areas. I could see
Hmm.
myself being the engineer. I could see myself being the artist. I could see myself creating cover art for the artist.
Yeah.
I could see myself doing photo shoots. Like it's so much. Um, and what I've recently discovered working with this producer is he explained that that's kind of, he's like, you sound like you could be a producer yourself because producers never really fit in anywhere. They kind of just like to do it all and they like to organize it all and they like to help people out with their creative vision. Um, so, in terms of like communicating with other artists, that makes it really work out well because they're working, they're trying to figure out how they want it to sound, how they want it to look like, what they really want. And because I kind of have that understanding of like being an artist, having your own opinion, wanting it to look a certain way, we can communicate really well to create what they're envisioning. Because
Mm-hmm.
for all artists, it's like it's just in their head and they need people to help them like bring it to life. And so I think my background and my understanding of being an artist really helps other people do
Yeah. What are some difficulties that you run into while you're working?
that. Always being so unsure what direction I want to go in
Right.
because I cannot decide, and so it's like I'm spreading myself kind of thin instead of just picking one thing and like really going for it.
Yeah.
It's becoming more clear the more stuff I do because, like I said earlier, I just say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it doesn't sound that exciting, I'm like, okay, if anything, I do this and I find out I don't like it. Um, and then that's one thing I can cross off the list that I don't have to think about because right now it really just is. I'm just trying out a bunch of different things to see what I really, really like and what really feels right. It's a bit of a process and it
Yeah.
is difficult, but I think it's necessary. And I think that anyone goes through that in life.
Yeah.
It's not
All right. So the last question I have for you is, what role do faith and vocation play in your life and your work?
that is a really cool question. I like
Yeah.
that. Just the faith and all of that stuff I keep close to my heart because sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the industry and like the glamour of it and trying to be like the coolest person or like have the most followers and stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really just try to listen to what feels right to me and my morals and never be anybody but myself. Because we grew up in like a big family and we're all really close and we
Mm-hmm.
all have the same morals and I really like to stay true to that
Yeah.
because there's a lot of different characters in this industry and specifically I'm working in a studio and it's like a hip hop studio and
Mm-hmm.
not everyone there had grew up that way and stuff. Okay, sorry, my roommate just walked in. um, and so I just hold that close to me to keep me grounded in a crazy, crazy industry. Um, and it's a really good thing because then people know they can rely on me and they can trust me and I'm going to be there for them. So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna stop the record.